It's a big, wide world out there of Star Citizen content creators, with new people joining in and choosing to make content of their own every day. And it's no surprise as to why. Star Citizen is growing in popularity the further along it's being developed, and there's still plenty of room to grow among the Star Citizen content creator community for a long time still to come. Recently, I'd been thinking about the different kinds of Star Citizen content creators out there and noticed that there were some clear patterns that I thought were interesting and decided I wanted to document alongside some tips for those considering getting into them themselves, including what I personally view as being some of the pros and cons of producing each of them. And by pros and cons, I don't mean pros as why one type is superior to another or cons as to why this type of content is bad, but I mean cons from the context of difficulties in creating that type of content or benefit making that type of content might give you. My opinions here are, of course, just based on my own experiences and what I've personally noticed, and nothing is meant as a diss. And lastly, before we get started, if you can think of any I may have missed or have a good tip to share yourself, leave a comment down below and let me and other viewers know about them too. My name's Dead Leader.
Let's just jump into it.
Alright, the first type is scientists. These are the content creators who start with a question they want answered, such as, what's the best way to do this? I wonder if I can break the game in this way. What would happen if I filled up this crater with corpses? They ask a question a player may have or may never have considered before, then go out of their way to try and accurately answer it while documenting the process along the way for your enjoyment. Pros of the scientist are there's a lot of things to test in Star Citizen, with new mechanics being added and stats and data constantly changing. There's always need for accurate data, and there's always a thirsty audience who likes to min-max different ships and game loops in the game. Star Citizen being a wacky game that it is, there's always something that can be tested with hilarious results, and a lot of great data can be found out that CIG might actually need to know through their issue council, as this is often how exploits are discovered and subsequently patched. Some of the cons of the scientists' work is a lot of that work to get that type of data in game comes down to just a lot of spreadsheet work and trying to do the same thing over a very long time. So if you don't have the patience for that, it can be a bit hard to see through. The next type is the adventurer. Similar to the scientists, they start off their content with a clear mission that they've designated. They set the challenge early on, and by the end, they've either heroically succeeded or tragically failed. A great adventurer will make you feel like you were right alongside them the entire time and that they shared in your triumphs and failures. The pros of this type of content is that the content you make is only limited by your imagination. Star Citizen is a giant space sandbox game with huge amounts of mechanics and various possibilities that you can have fun with. Often the best mission won't be one the game gives you, but one you and your friends give yourselves. Cons of the adventurer are there can be a lot of planning involved, as well as multiple people required to realize some ideas, which could be a positive by being more fun, but is worth noting since it does usually mean more work to organize. And it's also heavily impacted by server and game health. With all the setup and lengthy travel times in Star Citizen, you could spend hours setting something up, recording all the setup, and then begin the actual adventure, and the game could just die, or you could explode for no reason, have to start from the start again. I have many view ideas I want to do that are kind of like this, but know that when the game is in a certain state, reliability-wise, that I shouldn't even consider attempting it, because the risk of a wasted setup is too large, the risk for the content. The classic Let's Player. A Let's Player is someone who will just record their play session and the content is more free-flowing, like a live blog of what took place, rather than always having a distinct beginning, middle, and end of the story. Pros for this? Well, Star Citizen is a fun game to play. If you be entertaining and deliver that for people, enjoy it. Cons? At times, Star Citizen can be a bit aimless. If you're just hitting record and jumping into play without much of a plan with what you want in the end content to look like, you're going to be left with a lot of work bringing the entertainment with your dazzling personality, or while editing, putting in extra effort to find the story, so to speak. If nothing interesting happens in your gameplay, are people going to watch it and come back? It's always possible to find a way to make your footage interesting, but if you're stuck with 8 hours of footage to go through, then cut on top of that, then that's a huge time investment, and not everyone can commit to that consistently. Bow chicka wow wow. Ship pornographers. Ship pornographers, well look, ships look good, space looks pretty, so naturally there's a good amount of content creators out there dedicated just to making content that focuses on using Star Citizen footage, sometimes simply just paired with music just to make it even look more pretty, or to use the game engine to tell an original story of their own, aka machinima. Pros: if you like ship, you get to look at ship a lot. This type really benefits the ultra creative types who want to craft their own stories and worlds by sharing the things they like the most about Star Citizen with other people. And the cons are that type of content isn't necessarily for everyone, but it is appreciated among the other communities. The how-toer/reviewer. Content with a purpose. We all have needed to YouTube how to do something in a game before. They figure out what the most likely questions to be looked up will be and try to explain and show it as best as possible. Pros to this type of content: there's always new players coming to the game, and since the game is always changing, there's usually something out there to cover that hasn't been covered in the latest version of the game. And the more new features come online in the game, the more potential differences and opportunities will pop up to make it unique. Cons: sometimes to cover the latest ship or addition to the game, if you want to do it first for other people, you might need to spend real money in order to get the ship to review, or spend a lot of time in game grinding up money to get the ship you want to review. Free flies can be great for this. Often you get a chance to get access to a large amount of ships to rent, or even some events you can rent all of the ships, like IA Theory Crafters. There's a lot of development left in an already large and vast game. Often there's things secretly in development for the game, or leaks coming out about new vehicles or gameplay features. Theory Crafters will talk about what they believe might be coming in the game's future, or they come up with what they would like to see coming up in the game's future. Pros of the Theory Crafter: a good source of potential creative content, heaps of stuff on the roadmap and to come in the future to discuss. Cons: requires a really solid knowledge of Star Citizen's production, development, and lore. There's a lot out there that's been explained or planned for Star Citizen over a long development that might be hard to know about if you're new. So speaking about features you don't actually know about may make you sound a bit dumb to some players who, by comparison, could have an encyclopedic knowledge of the game. But don't let that put you off. If you're creative and you reckon you've honestly got a good idea, you might as well share it out there, and there's a good chance there'll be other people who didn't know about it either, even if it is planned in game. News update and event reporters. Star Citizen puts out a lot of information about its development every week through article posts or their website. Often there's multiple weekly videos and many posts and comments made on the Star Citizen forum, which is called Patron. These content creators will gather that news and try and reformat it into content they can post. So if you didn't know about it yet or get the chance to look it up yourself, then you can find out about it with a little bit of extra commentary on the info mentioned that often Star Citizen staff are reluctant to make themselves. Pros: there's always something to make content about. There's always news and things being posted about it that if you know where to look to find it, you can always find some news to read. Cons: once a player knows where and how to get this info for themselves, they usually no longer need this type of content as much. Also, you need to be consistent and fast to deliver up-to-date news, for it's already covered or even outdated with the speed that some patches can come with this game. Unless you're really entertained about reading the news, there isn't much room for creativity and fun to be had with it. Podcasters, a regular conversational piece of content, often with a panel of other content creators who often like to have a round table on any subject they choose to cover. Pros of this are it's a great excuse to get together and discuss Star Citizen with friends, and gives you a platform to explore some of the more niche aspects of the game with like minds. Cons. There can be a lot of logistics, planning, and people required to set time aside to guest or participate. Being reliable is a staple of growth to keep giving people a reason to come back and check it out. Reactors. Content that's made by exploring things to do with Star Citizen, including other people's content with your audience. Watching and discussing the topics to help bring the viewer into the discussion more and getting a broader look at the types of content being made together. The pros of this, with so much variety of content coming out from different sources, giving people a familiar voice they can enjoy it through can make a lot of content accessible for people who otherwise might not have given it the time of day. It can take a while for people to warm up to a new content creator's way of doing things and their unique voice. So having someone filter through it and provide an opinion to it can be a great way for people to discover and get onto other content creators out there. Cons? Not sure if this is a con or more a requirement, but it takes charm. The ability to host and the knowledge, or at least opinion on the topic, being reacted to for the content to be entertaining and transformative. You need to consistently have access to fresh content and, to some extent, a finger on the pulse of where the community and development is in general. Now, these next things aren't so much types of content, but more the format. I wanted to cover YouTubers and streamers, or, Twitchers. I don't even know what you call that these days technically. But there is a large difference between the two. For instance, with YouTubers, the pros are you can take your time to develop your content. Every video you release adds to your library of things people can explore. A video might not have great views when you release it, but as your channel grows and your subscribers will go up, they'll also go back through your older catalog, and those videos will continue or start to make ad revenue passively for you. There's better discoverability on YouTube as well. It's easier for new people to come across your content. The cons of YouTube, though, are people are less likely to watch streams on the platform. So a past stream with low views can affect YouTube's algorithm, like a bad video might. To sort of explain, if your videos don't do well or don't have a high enough viewer duration, YouTube will recommend your content less and less to people. And so, unfortunately, streaming on the platform can affect the success of your other edited content being shared as well. On the other hand, with streamers or people on Twitch, the pros are you have a more direct line to your viewer, and it's easier to develop a community and rapport with the audience. There's more of a culture of tipping, paid subscriptions, bits and the like. It's far more profitable, in fact, to be a small streamer than a small YouTuber. There's less editing involved, while there is some live editing and work to be put in for your assets that you might use on your live stream. But once you're live, you're essentially playing the game while creating the content. And once you're offline, the job is essentially done. Now, the cons with streaming and Twitch, though, is once you're offline, you lose your discoverability. People are far less likely to watch past broadcasts or clips than they are an edited and produced piece of content. That, coupled with the fact that the only way to grow your audience is streaming regularly and to a schedule, it can be a struggle going live if you don't feel like playing Star Citizen or being live at all. We've all had times at Star Citizen where it's gotten under our skin and you just need to take some time away from it until it's behaving better. And because of some of the pros, such as the community developed and subscription money paid directly from the viewer, this can make the content creator to force themselves to go online, even if they're burning out, and that can just end in disaster. So, the takeaway from all this. You might not know this, but there's sort of a thing that happens with Twitch streamers and YouTubers where both of them kind of wish they were the other or had the same sort of success on the other platform, but it's rarely ever the case. For a lot of the reasons explained previously, If you worked hard at streaming on Twitch and did regular long-form streams, then you'd think, well, hey, I have the content recorded already. I just need to edit it into a format for YouTube that tells the story. But the time it takes to go through hours and hours of footage that wasn't recorded for the purpose of becoming a short and punchy successful YouTube video is massive. And you wouldn't even find professional editors who would sink the collective amount of time filming and editing their content for an employer. And the other way around is also how it works similarly. Often you'll find a YouTuber that will see another content creator making far more money and have more success on Twitch, so they might try and do both and burn out, or try streaming on YouTube and see the numbers on their views dip heavily overall. If thinking about making content on either platform, the best advice I can give is find which one suits you more long term and try and grow that one platform first. It's a lot easier to transplant an audience from one platform once you have one than it is to grow multiple at the same time. Secondly, don't compare your content to others, especially in a negative way, or try and speak in a voice that isn't yours. Just focus on making the kind of content that you would want to see and find entertaining first and foremost, instead of just trying to do what you think other people want by what other people are putting out. If it's authentic, people will pick up on that. All right, well, I hope I didn't come off as too preachy or anything, and hopefully it helped some people out there who were maybe considering to getting into it themselves. I do highly recommend it if you decide to. And as always, my name's Dead Leader. I'll see you out there in the verse. Now to announce the winner of the Anvil Blister with a lifetime insurance. If you remember in the last video I dropped, I asked people to share their Jumptown experience and I would announce the winner on the next video, and that's this one. And the winner is Crypts and Cantrips. Thank you for sharing your story. I'm a sucker for the long shot that fails in the end, but it's about the journey and the what happens along the way. Congratulations. I will be replying to your message, asking for details right as this video goes live. Soon I'll be doing another competition for one of the new Mirai Furies, so stick around for that one. Please consider becoming a patron to my Patreon. And thank you so much to my patrons for helping support me make this content. I love yous. You're great. Thanks.